In Saudi Arabia, Western and Arab officials convened to discuss progress in ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas. The conflict sparked by Hamas militants in October last year has resulted in over 34,000 Palestinian casualties. Mediators from the United States, Egypt and Qatar have been involved since January. Here's what a ceasefire and hostage deal for Gaza will include. Mediation efforts by the US, Egypt and Qatar have been ongoing since January, with additional countries involved in the negotiations. In the previous ceasefire deal, which resulted in a week-long pause in fighting in November, Hamas released over 100 hostages, while Israel freed 3 times as many Palestinian prisoners. Current status of ceasefire talks. French Foreign Minister Stéphane Séjourné stated that talks are progressing, with scheduled discussions among Arab and Western ministers in Riyadh. A Hamas delegation is in Cairo to review the latest ceasefire proposal and Israel's response as mediators intensify efforts for a resolution. However, significant gaps remain between both sides on key issues despite foreign pressure to compromise. Urgency and humanitarian concerns. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has indicated plans to target Rafah, the last city in Gaza not entered by Israeli troops, raising concerns about the worsening humanitarian crisis and international pressure for a truce. Continued fighting exacerbates the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza, with the World Food Programme warning of impending famine in northern parts of the enclave. Ceasefire conditions. The main point of contention is the conditions for a ceasefire, with Israel favoring a temporary halt to the fighting contingent on a hostage and prisoner swap, while Netanyahu seeks total victory over Hamas with an assault on Rafah and a long-term security control over Gaza. Hamas insists on a permanent ceasefire, including an Israeli troop withdrawal from Gaza rather than another temporary truce. Hostages and prisoner exchange. Israel demands the return of all remaining hostages or their bodies if deceased, while Hamas seeks a large-scale release of Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. Negotiations focus on the ratio and phasing of prisoner releases, as well as categories such as women and civilians. Other issues. Hamas seeks commitments beyond the ceasefire deal, including the return of displaced individuals, increased aid, and a reconstruction program for Gaza's devastated infrastructure. Netanyahu's post-war plan includes Gaza's demilitarization as a condition for rehabilitation, a demand likely to be accepted by Hamas.